What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today we're going to be talking about the Fox new Legendary Void Skinwalker Teumesia. What a fun name to say. So with that being said, I'm going to be showing you where I found she works the best, going over what she looks like, pretty cool in my opinion, her animations, and some of my final thoughts on one of the most unique, I think, interactions with the turn meter that has ever been introduced into this game. Let's get right into it. Alright, so the first thing, as always, let's talk about the aesthetics, and this champion looks cool. Teumesia, awesome name, really flows for me, but the axe looks incredible. Very unique model. Skinwalkers did need a lot of love, as we all know. We've kind of been asking for it for quite some time as far as the community goes, because they seem to have been the faction that really wasn't getting a lot of love. So I really like how they added not one but two, which we'll get into in a separate video, Skinwalker Void Legendaries. I think they should definitely add more, preferably non-void, but this is what we have to work with. So overall, I think very great job as far as aesthetics go and changing things up and making it pretty new. Now let's go over the kit really quick. We have an A1 with the defense down, 50% chance, 100% chance if you do have an HP burn active on the target, which is definitely nice. We have this A2 here having a 75 up to 100% chance of placing an AoE HP burn for 3 turns, also having that 100% chance once booked again to stun each target for 1 turn with 50% turn meter or more, so that's the key there. Having a 75 up to 100 once again of placing decreased speed debuff for 3 turns on targets with less than 50% turn meter. So there's definitely a trade-off here. You're gonna have to watch turn meter rather closely. But overall, I think this is a very strong A2. And what's interesting is this A3 Burning Regret. We have a 3-turn cooldown, attacks 1 enemy, damage increases by 40% for each active HP burn debuff in the battle, up to an incredible 400%. You already know we tested that, so look forward to that. And it has a 75% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15%, decrease the target turn meter by an additional 15% for each active HP burn debuff in the battle. So there's a lot here, and it's not going to help you too much if I explain it now. I kind of just want to run down what the skill is. I'm going to show you on pretty much the only content that's going to make sense to you right off the bat after reading this kit. Moving on to Inner Heat. Pretty cool passive here. When an ally receives a freeze debuff, has a 50% chance of replacing it with HP burn for 2 turns instead. This debuff cannot be resisted or blocked. So that's kind of cool. Whenever an ally or enemy is under HP burn debuff, this champion is immune to all CC, stun, sleep, freeze, fear, true fear, and finally provoke. This is really cool. I like this passive a lot. I really like the theme of this champion, how it's overall HP burn. I think that's very strong here. So now let's go ahead, take this champion into not how many ancient shards I have. Let's take this champion straight into the campaign. Take a look at the skills really quick so you have a one-time speed version of what they look like and what they have to offer. Don't mind those rares there. So here we go. Fox in brutal, whatever stage this is, one-time speed. Let's go ahead and start off with the A1 Fiery Battle Axe. We have a nice overhead chop and mollywop to the wave here. Now let's go ahead and use Cunning Chaos. This is the AoE here, so let's see if there's anything spicy that they have to show for it. Okay, I really like this. This reminds me a lot of, if it's not identical to, the new champion Ninja. He has a frost version of this, so I definitely really like that. Moving on to the A3 here, attacks 1 enemy. Let's see what this very hard-hitting skill does. Okay, so a side slash, we have that Thunderbolt animation in red above, really cool. And of course the passive does nothing, so let's just use the A1 one more time for a quick slap chop, and those are Teumesia's animations. Now, where can we use this champion to success? As you all probably understand by now, we are going straight into the Spider's Den, straight into stage 20, and let's watch this Fox work. Okay, so we have a team set up, we have AI specific here. I'm gonna let it run on one-time speed and kind of walk you through what's happening here. We're gonna start with Lissandra. We're not gonna use speed, we're gonna go for the weak hit, which is perfectly fine. Now we use the AoE, we see stuns everywhere, we see HP burns everywhere. Beautiful. Now we have defense down, double Heart Seeker, which is great. Now we have another increased speed, and this is the hard-hitting ability here, 426,000 pretty incredible for a non-max enemy health champion like Coldheart. So if you compare that to what the Coldheart's damage just was, it's definitely extremely impressive. Now, one thing I do want to mention about this champion is she has accuracy right now, and I decided to test full damage as much as I could possibly squeeze onto it. It's going to be unrealistic, but I just wanted to do it for the test. And Teumesia with an attack aura, attack up, which we don't have here, defense down and weaken, no bad L, no curb tuck, hits the spider with Helm Smasher for, you guys guess, 1.2 million damage. Now, practical use, you're never going to be able to do that. However, this does make this the strongest single target conditional skill in the entire game, which is definitely very cool. So as you can see here, we have 1minute and 18 seconds. Now let's hit replay one more times to see it in 2x speed, although we did slow it down a little bit from having 1x speed there, but rundown's the same here. That turn meter landing does not matter, as we saw it was a weak hit the first time. Coldheart hitting for 773,000. Non-enemy max health hitting for 486,000, which is very strong damage, especially from an AoE stun and AoE HP burn champion. So I'll kind of stop this after this run here, and I'll show you the incredible part. And one thing you might notice, and I believe it is coming up rather soon, is going to be the A3 I believe Teumesia is going to do right here. And you might be thinking, wait, Murder, there's a turn meter effect of this boss that makes it so you cannot reduce the turn meter by as much as we just witnessed there. How is this possible? Well, viewer, I'm glad you asked. Before I get into that, 6.6 million damage compared to everyone else. Incredible, hard-hitting champion, AoE HP burn, AoE stun. To make it happen, I did have to kind of chain two speed buffs on the team from Lissandra and Lydia here, making it possible. Outside of that, just defense down is really what's required here. You do want to make sure Teumesia is going first because of how hard that AoE hits. You don't want defense on the weekend on every single spiderling. I've tried that. It just gets one shot. You could build no damage, but the A3 damage is pretty important outside of that HP burn. So now I want to talk to you about what we just saw here with, and let me just hit replay one more time. What we just saw here with the turn meter reduction that's supposed to be capped, decreasing the effect by 50% when used against bosses. So how important is what we're seeing here? And this is what I meant before when I said we have a rather unique new skill added to the game by this fox right here. And it's going to take, I believe, one more. Actually, I can just explain it when I'm on here. Let's go ahead and use Lissandra. Okay, so this skill, as you mentioned in the description of the skill, has a baseline 15% chance of reducing the turn meter, so half of that, 7.5 of course. Then it's another, let's already subtract half, 7.5% for each HP burn. So let's think about it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus the spiderling. That's 11 chances of 7.5% on top of the built-in 15% chance, which is also 7.5. So 7.5 times 12, then apply it to the spider. That's a massive amount of turn meter reduction that pretty much ignores the effect. I don't want to say ignores because it doesn't literally ignore it, but it pretty much makes this useless because of how unique this champion's kit works using each individual target. Now, this is way too much turn meter decrease for any content outside of spiders. There's never going to be 12 targets in front of you. There are some Doom Tower bosses where you could make this work. Arena, not so much, but this is one of the main reasons why I called this champion a one trick, because this is so strong for spider, and throughout my testing on Twitch, I did not find another area where Teumesia really stood out and really shined. I attempted to use a full damage, no accuracy version in the arena as a nuker, and the numbers just really couldn't compare to a lot of other options we do have. Now, one thing I do want to say about Teumesia, and we'll wait until we get the turn next, is going to be, once we get there, the passive here. Now, a common champion, I mean, not so common anymore, but one champion that has seen itself in the arena meta has been Gurgo the Augur, Tormund. Now you have a chance of using a champion, although it is RNG, so I wouldn't full invest in using this as a response to freeze champions, but as we can see from the passive here, when an ally receives a freeze debuff, has a 50-50 chance, which like I said, RNG could go your way, could not go your way, of replacing the freeze with an HP burn. Now you will be taking damage, but you will not be CC'd. You'll have your chance to get a turn, do some pretty good damage to your enemy, so that's kind of where I stand on that. As we can see, once again, that turn meter decrease, so this is where I really stand with this new kind of she-fox Teumesia, and let me know if you guys figured something else out that I overlooked or didn't really see in my testing here. I'm definitely curious to find out. So once again, this is just where I found that she shined as a champion. Overall, if I had to give my final thoughts, this is just another void added to the pool. It looks amazing, and people like me don't really care about how useful a champion is in the game. However, that's not a sentiment shared by many of the players. They really want only useful champions in this playing pool, and I do personally believe that Teumesia is a little bit not as good for being a void legendary. Now that might sound strange. I did say there's this awesome new mechanic, but if this mechanic had worked in other places like Doom Tower, which a lot of people struggle with, as far as what it does to the turn meter on already turn meter penalized encounters such as that, I think this champion would have been much better. So personally, I'm a bit underwhelmed with how much they gave this champion, but like I said, it looks great, and if you need a spider champion and you get crazy lucky and pull this champion when it is released, you're going to be in for a great surprise. Now, if you were curious as to what kind of gear I use in this champion, Savage gear, this build is a bit hard to do. You don't need to stack as much damage, of course, as I'm using here, although you did notice at the end there that you do play it a little bit close for how close you are to actually not killing the spiderling. This all has to do with the speed of the champions. If you want to sacrifice damage on Teumesia, you are going to have to kind of move higher speeds to other champions, making sure they do in fact get more turns, and from that more damage onto the spider to compensate for what Teumesia was doing for me with this team. 35,000 health, 5.1 thousand attack, which is rather low, 240 speed, respectable. The key takeaway here is Teumesia has to be faster than your defense down and weaken. Unless it's not an AoE, then it's pretty much fine to get away with what you want. 100% crit rate, of course, 253 crit damage, and 249 accuracy. For gear sets, I use Savage to kind of see what kind of damage we had to offer here, as well as Helm Smasher. And for the skills, it is fully booked. We have, let's see, 5 books here. We have another 5 books and then 3, so 13 books. This is a rather hefty investment for someone that's only going to kind of offer incredible value to the spider. Now, this does not account for players who are early game, mid game. If you pull this champion, this is not a bad champion to invest in. I would say if you're confident to get through content without Sill of Drakes booked, and if you don't want to invest too much in Ninja, this champion being void, having no weak affinities, having respectable base stats as we see 101 speed, 1035 base defense, 16,000 health, that is a little bit low and can be a concerning point, but the base defense is a good sign. It's not 800 or 900 like we've seen with other attack based champions, so I think this is definitely a solid champion. It offers CC, it offers single target turn meter manipulation, that small chance of CC prevention from freezes, and of course a decently hard hitting AoE HP burn, which will make you fly through the spider no matter where you're at, which is considered one of the hardest dungeons in early progression. So those are my final thoughts on the champion. Let me know what you guys think. Leave me a comment, give me your feedback. I'm definitely curious as to how you are going to react to this champion after seeing this video today. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and I will see you all in my next upload.